Hi, this is Sakar. A quick background: I suffered from amenorrhea due to my chronic unhealthy relationship with food and exercise. Not only did I lose my period, but other bodily functions were also impacted by the imbalanced hormones. You can read my further story here or the summary article at the link in my description box. As I've recovered, I needed a system to track my macros and routine to maintain my fitness goal while not undereating. I've stopped using commercial nutrition or period tracker because, first, for the nutrition tracker, the message is tailored towards losing weight. It's dangerous for folks with the history of disordered eating, as it might tip them back to dieting again. Secondly, for the cycle tracker, its nagging AI chatbot is super tone deaf. Like, I know I lost my period, I'm not pregnant, don't keep reminding me that I'm missing my period. Number three, its survey also completely missed the mark, suggesting potential causes that failed to identify my disordered eating. And finally, on the cycle tracker app, its sexual information is inappropriate to my values, such as promoting masturbation and seeking pleasure. With my background in product management and Python knowledge, I thought, why wouldn't I create a system to support my goal? Just like write the book you wish you would see in the bookshelf, right? The must-haves: data ownership, because from my experience, asking my data back from a cycle tracker app took weeks. At least Google Sheets is always accessible. And then features overfitting to my use case, so I don't need to adjust my life to a commercial tool, but I can build the tool that is suitable for my own habits. And thirdly, automation. I break down the steps into a series of tutorials, and this first video is about the data and automation backbone. Without further ado, I'll show you the final result. So as you can see, I created multiple dashboards here on the Google Looker Studio. And so the structure is nutrition, activities sheet, activities plus symptoms. And then you want to automate the nutrition calculation to create a tactical database. And yeah, so the automation is built on Python, GitHub, and Automator because I'm using Mac in my local machine. And so before we get into the tactical database, then obviously you need to do the data cleansing and preparation. And the end product is the analytics or dashboards. So the database here is made of Google Sheet, a collection of Google Sheets. So this is how I structured my Google Drive with analytics and then activities, analytics combined, food data entry here. This was the old one with the Google form. So this is how the food data is structured with food, alias, unit per unit, kilocalorie, protein, carb, fat, and ID and recipe ID have something to do with the Google App Sheet, which I'll show you in the next video. But this is like the backbone of the system where you get the library essentially of all the foods. And this is the conversion tab where if you cook rice or make sourdough, for example, my hobby is making sourdough almost every week, then you can record the dry weights and then the yield weights, and then you can calculate the conversion. So anytime you get the cooked rice or bread, then you can get it directly. And this is the recipe tab. So you've got the recipe name and how many servings or how much the yield is. And so this links to the ingredients of each recipe, but I'll explain this more in depth in the next video about the app sheet, because that's how we input all this together. So yeah, you can see the line ID, recipe ID, and this is just a summary tab. And so back to the food log again, then you can see the manual input column, yes or no. So the manual input yes is it's something that I eat at the restaurant, for example, so nothing found in my library. And so I normally use AI agent like ChatGPT to calculate or to estimate the macros based on my uploaded photos. And so I started this tracker in July, as you can see at the top row there, the 25th of July. And initially it was without all the Python, so just, like the Google Sheet calculation with the index and the lookup. And so this is the activities table or activities Google Sheet. And so LISS or list is low intensity steady state, like walking, or like low intensity cardio. And I also record the number of steps, and load bearing is whether I do the calisthenics or the weight training at the gym. Bedtime and wake up time, natural, whether I wake up naturally, and poop time sorry about that, but yeah, that's whether it's morning, afternoon, or the evening. So I don't really specify the timestamp there. All the columns on the food log or the activities only can be adjusted according to your needs. That's why it's important to build your own system and adjust that to your life rather than the other way around. Okay, suppose now you want to start coding, and here I'm using Visual Studio Code. The scope of how to install the Visual Studio Code, or if you want to install Homebrew, etc., is outside of this video. But anyway, I'm going to show you, for example, the debug config and debug util here is for ensuring that when you run the code in the development mode or in the production mode, it will have different result in the debugging. And so this is the environment file. And by the way, all the files here have been uploaded to my GitHub, so feel free to check that out and copy that to your own local repository. And so this is the template of the environment file. You can adjust that with your own master table and all other stuff's URL from the Google Sheet. And so this is the Python file. I'm using Python because that's the programming language I'm comfortable with. So I think it's not that much. And I admit that I also sought help from ChatGPT, but it was not entirely vibe coding, because I got the knowledge in Python already. So I use the AI mainly for tightening all the checkings or the pitfalls of my code. So you need to import several packages or libraries here, and the initial part is the checking, the validation if I'm using the environment file from my local machine or from the GitHub environment variables. And so this is just to make sure that I don't accidentally override the production sheets either when I'm ready to do the live testing or the UAT. Yes, so you can see that you are about to overwrite the production sheet. So that's like the fail-safe check built into the code. And then obviously you need to call the Google Sheet API here, and you need to define the other variables, which mean the log, food data log and activities and master table log URLs. And this is where you open each of the Google Sheets into a worksheet, and you need to convert each into a pandas data frame. And yeah, essentially you get all the records from each of the Google Sheets. And then, yeah, you can see that the next step is to cleanse the food names, strip the unnecessary spaces. So you can just do the common comments like strip or lower. And this is like the empty arrays, the records array, and the nutrition to append. So how it works is you do the iteration for each row found on the food log, and each row, as you already saw on the Google Sheet I showed you earlier, it's got the date, calories, protein, carb, and fat, and then you can do the else validation here, that if nothing is found, then you can do it none. And also the conversion as well. So the values need to be multiplied with the conversion factor. And so this is where the matching happens. That's why it's important to eventually move this into an app sheet. So maybe in your version 0 or like the pilot version, you do your data input directly on the Google Sheet, but then you need something with the front end validation, so to speak. And that's where the app sheet comes handy. And so then this is the check if, because the logic I'm writing the data back into the Google Sheet is based on the number of rows and the column or the heading letters, then obviously there needs to be a check so that it doesn't skip rows where the length is different. And so yeah, a lot of debug or debug_df, that's the failsafe check. That's why I have to define the debug util at the beginning. And so yeah, this is where you need to join the records with the group by. So all the food entries in one day need to be joined, like to be summed with the group by. And yeah, that's the merge thing. And also this is where I try to play with idempotency. So if the numbers are unchanged, but I use only the calorie number as the baseline check here for the idempotency, then the row of that date doesn't need to be overwritten. But if it's changed, then obviously we need to overwrite the date row. And so this is just the logic built into translate this idempotency logic with the iter rows. So there are two operations essentially coming out of this block of code, whether to overwrite or to append. Append if the date is not found in the master table. So that's how it goes. You can just go to my GitHub and then copy the code into your repository and play around with it. Make sure you have installed the VS Code if you haven't coded before. I think you can also use the Jupyter Notebook. So in Jupyter Notebook, you can execute that line by line, which makes it easier for you to troubleshoot. But for me, I like VS Code better because you get like autocomplete, or like the outline which can show you the variables. So back to the append here. So if you need to append the rows, then the value input option is user entered, and then you need to print the inserts, updates, and skips to summarize the operation that you've done on the master table. About this VS Code, I also, I'm running the code. So as you can see, the code is being run now, and the arrays are displayed, and also the numbers of the inserts, updates, and skips are displayed respectively. We're done with the Python. Well, let's wrap it up here. So you've got the first step covered, which is to build your own database and the Python script for the automation of the nutrition values. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial and can follow it through. Please let me know if you've got any questions on the comment section below. And thanks for watching. See you on the next video.